Okay, so let's kick off. So we've got Bear Trickey and Alex May from. Thank you very much. From Winning Blimp. Alex and I had a fantastic conversation. I have a certain fascination with Japan, having worked at Sony for a few years, and I was basically trying out my very, very terrible Japanese on him. I happened to pick Isho ni biro nonde pizza tabemashou ka, and he loved that because he doesn't get to get pizza and beer very often. That's as far as I get in Japanese, so apologies if I've destroyed that. But what I love about these guys is that they're doing some cool stuff. But Alex is in Japan and Bear is in Florida.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How on earth do you manage that as a time zone? But at least you got 24-hour coverage. Is that about right?
Yeah. 24-hour game development.
24-hour game development with how many of you?
Two.
So I'm going to say no more and pass you over to these guys, and they'll tell you more about what they're doing. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Yep. So I'm Bear Trickey, here with my esteemed colleague Alex May, and we are Winning Blimp. Alex designs all of our graphics and audio assets. I write all of the code, and we tend to share responsibilities for things like game design and psychiatric counseling and whatnot. And today we're going to talk to you about our our music-first approach to game development, and specifically how we use that approach for our latest game, Mosaic. And to give you a quick rundown of Mosaic, it's a color-matching puzzle game for iOS and Android devices that caters to players who want to have positive and relaxing experiences with their smartphones. So we wanted to give our players a sense of satisfaction for actually completing and winning a game. So unlike endless Tetris-style puzzle games that kind of constantly throw challenges at players until they lose, Mosaic is a game where players can play leisurely until they win. There's no time limit in Mosaic, although the average play session can be completed in under 10 minutes. All the stages are generated algorithmically, so every time you play you get a fresh set of challenges. The gameplay itself, the game mechanic itself doesn't really force a certain play style, so players can kind of approach the stage as they want and kind of solve it as they like. Let's see. We wanted to reward players for both their skill and their effort. So while players can naturally get a better score for playing more skillfully, they can also get bonus points for putting in the effort of playing the game once a day consecutively for 7 days. And finally, it's available for purchase for the proud premium price of 99 cents. We're not necessarily opposed to freemium, we just suck at that business model, so we don't do it. Yeah, we learned that. You can look at Ambien. Let's see, we've had wonderfully positive reactions from our users and the media. Right now, Mosaic is sitting happily on the popular puzzler section of the App Store. And that's after stints on New and Noteworthy and What's Hot lists. We were chosen by GameSpot as one of the must-see games of the Japanese Indie Summit, Bit Summit. And we've also had very positive reviews from highly esteemed sites like GameZebo, Touch Arcade, and CNET. And last but not least, we were totally featured on Craig Federighi's iPhone for 2 seconds on the Worldwide Developers Conference Keynote last month. Anyway, which was an awesome accolade for us, but got us about 0 extra downloads. Literally, just 2 seconds. So anyway, but it was kind of mind-blowing to see us up there. So that being said, I'm going to turn the floor over to Alex to talk about his design methodology.
Look at this, isn't this great? It means absolutely nothing. We've got nothing out of it, but I was in Japan, so this of course happened overnight for me, so I was asleep, and I woke up and my Twitter was going like this, oh, your game's in the WWDC presentation. Check out 10 minutes 43 seconds to 10 minutes 44 seconds. And there it is, and you can see that, there's, I don't know, does anyone know this game? No, I've never heard of this one, I don't really know that one, but there we are. So, okay. Today, I apologize for this rather corny internet little meme picture here that I got here, but it sums up totally what I'm going to be talking about. So firstly, thanks so much for coming. I was expecting about 4,000 people, but you'll have to do. Can I just so I can scope the audience here, how many people are involved in game development? Oh, nice. How many people have been involved in a game that involves music? Okay. How many people have been involved in a game that involves music, where music has been done either at the very last moment or in the very latter half of the game development process? Right. Okay. We've got a lot to talk about. So, let's begin. Music. Look at this picture. Look at this picture. Now, I went to Google Images and I was thinking about using some corny, like my previous meme picture, some corny, stock photo. So I typed into Google Images, I typed in bass face. And this came up. Bass face. This is this guy here. But look at this picture. I love this picture because apart from this guy who's smoking a cigarette, trying not to look like he's actually really excited, the rest of them, and look at this girl, and they're just fully getting into it. And I don't need to tell you this, everybody knows this. Music speaks to the soul. You know, music's all about emotion. And there's no other art form that can create such a spectrum of emotion, such a spectrum of response than music. Let's think about it. You know, if we compare music to, say, visual concept art, right? If I showed you this beautiful science fiction vista, you know, you got 3 moons and you got the spaceship there and you got the purple sky, and you're not going to find anybody who's going to come in there and say, oh, I'm sorry, that's crap. I really don't like science fiction vistas. You have to show me a fantasy vista. You know, music, on the other hand, regardless of how open-minded you might be, I can play you a piece of country music or a piece of hip-hop music, and you may say, yeah, well, no, I respect people who like country music, but I just really can't understand it myself. I don't get into it. My personal fetish is really extreme, minimal German industrial techno. Now, to Bear, extreme minimal German industrial techno sounds like 2 laundry machines with an amplified frog, right, on loop for 10 minutes. Right. To Bear, he loves like punk hardcore music, and I have a difficult time sort of appreciating that. Now, this is just an example to explain to you that what music has is this power to polarize people. You love it, or you find a very difficult time trying to love it. You love it or you hate it, right? And I think as far as game development is concerned, this is like it's a beacon for us because it's showing us that music has this amazing potential to play a key role in game design. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. My key point is this. If I can create for you a piece of music that makes me feel exactly the same way as it makes you feel, what I've created there is a sort of an emotional connection between us with my music, right? So, for example, I create a piece of music that makes you feel agitated. It makes me feel agitated. Okay, let's use this in our game. Now you're feeling agitated, I'm feeling agitated. What kind of game is going to come from that? It's going to be an agitating game. Agitation is one example, but what about a sense of fun or a sense of wonder or a sense of love or nostalgia or any of the other wonderful things that music can do? If I can create that piece of music for you that makes me feel and you feel that same way, now this is 2 of us, but what about if we're talking 10 of us or 30 of us? And this is a really powerful tool to get everybody heading towards the same direction. Have a look at this. So I prepared this trendy mind map. It's a mind map. Sorry. This is a little trendy chart here. You can see on the blue side, here are some obvious things that music can do for you. On the green side, these are some of the things that traditionally visual concept art is used for in a game development process. So let's look at this side, okay? What can we pull out of music? Well, obviously, I've just been talking the whole time about emotion. Music, it's really easy. As long as the music is created skillfully enough and is created with a saturated enough experience of emotion, it's very easy to extract out of the music one key emotion, like excitement, or as I mentioned, melancholy or something like that. Pacing, easy. If your music has a certain tempo, if my music is this fast, or for example, an easier example to understand is if I'm creating a game music, which is like drum and bass, 180 beats per minute, like this, you're not going to have slow fades in your game and press the pause button and everything's like slow transparency fades. And of course, it's ridiculous. Music is it's an instant cue there that, well, okay, let's make the pace of the game fast too. No slow fades, let's get straight to it, right? Game mechanics is what I'm here to talk, what we're going to be talking about today, which is ways that you can actually pull ideas for your games out of your soundtrack. Sound effects design, of course, obviously. I mean, music is sound. The other key component to a game is the sound effects, and it's very easy to pull inspiration for sound effects out of the music. Dialogue, of course, if your game has dialogue with characters speaking to each other, again, music being emotional, it's very easy. If you have a soundtrack for a certain part of your game, and it's like thrash metal, you're not going to have people talking about daffodils and you know, rolling hills and vistas and stuff, right? So that's the side. Now look at this side here. This side is more traditional what you would get out of visual concept art. Well-designed graphic style, color themes, visual effects, animations, user interface. All of that can be pulled out of like a wall of concept art. What we're going to be looking at today is how music can be used for this side as well. And our game, Mosaic, was just one example where we experimented with extracting some of this side out of the music track that we had done. So, just about the music for Mosaic. So, I wrote the music right at the very beginning of our development process. It was the first thing that I did after we talked about our ideas for game mechanics. So we had an idea, Bear had this idea for like this puzzle game, sort of very relaxing, yeah, okay, all right. So I went away and wrote a 10-minute piece of music, which was very exhausting because I don't usually write pieces of music that long. But it was 10 minutes long. It's like an ambient electronic style simply because I have a 4-year-old son and I can't record, so it's all electronic, all in the box. The music is intellectual, but it's accessible, so it doesn't scare you away with its sophistication, but it's still, it feels, well, I like to think it feels intelligent. I used in irregular times. Is anyone a musician? Okay, good. I used a 5/4, like an irregular time signature, which is a nice. Well, that's because I'm perverted like that. But also, it's a nice 5/4. You know, for those who don't know, 1 2 3 4 1 2 is a standard like what you'd be used to hearing. 5/4 is 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5. So it's got that little sort of catch at the end, which again it sounds familiar, but it's a little bit different. The music has a sense of reflective sadness and melancholy. That's just how I was feeling at the time when we were making it. There's a lot of wind. We created a sort of a storyline behind this puzzle game, and it's set on a desert planet, so we thought we'd put in a lot of wind effects there. There's a strong melodic signature. You don't need to be Wagner to know that, you know, it's a really easy tool. You know, John Williams did it, everybody did. You need to have a strong melody. People can come back and remember the melody and remember the game, remember the experience. And it's 120 beats per minute. And even for the non-musicians in the audience, I would hope you understand that 120 beats per minute is 2 seconds per minute, 2 beats per second. So that's your watch. Okay. All right, I'm just going to show you now the trailer video for Mosaic, so you can hear a little bit of the music and see a little bit of the game in action. Okay, so let's wrangle this technology. Can you tell me if it's too loud? Here we go. Okay, that's the music. Did you like that? Yeah, the video was actually done for us by a really talented Tokyo video artist who I work together with. He usually does music videos, and we chose him because we thought he would be sensitive to our attention to the music. Okay, so now you've heard the music a little bit. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's have a look at how the music plays into the game. Now on this side here, this is the same chart that you were just looking at on the previous screen. And on this side, these are some of the elements of how we pulled the musical aspects into the game. So to begin with, the music is 10 minutes long. So when we were developing the game, we thought, all right, let's have a game that you can play and listen to the music one loop through. So you listen to the start all the way to the end as you play the game. So when you finish the game, the music will be finishing, 10 minutes long. The music's ambient electronica, and generally, it's generally understood that ambient kind of music is relaxing and it's very serene and it's very, that there's no pressure put on you. It's sort of very floaty, and because of that, we didn't want to have any time pressure put on the player. There's no pressure put on you to complete it faster or doing it. You just take your time and take your own pace in line with the music. Intellectual but accessible. So like the game mechanic, it's a puzzle game. So it is intellectual and it does require a little bit of intelligence, but it's accessible. It's very simple. You don't have to lock into a certain way of playing it. There are various little personal strategies that you can develop. So that's how we pulled that out. There was a sense of reflective sadness, sort of an autumnal color scheme. If you have a look again, you can see with the graphics, I focused on a very sort of very natural, organic, lots of sort of deep oranges and khaki greens and things like that to give that sense of reflective sadness, which I guess I hope other people do, but I personally associate with the season of fall, the season of autumn. Wind effects, you may have seen in the trailer, there are a lot of particle effects. The strong melodic signature to the music, we didn't want to interfere with that. So the sound effects that we made for the game were done so that they were very non-conflicting with the music. There's no harmony, there's no tonal aspect to the sound effects at all. It's all noise-based. That way, you're just getting the pure melody. It's not going to be conflicting with any harmony or tones. 120 beats per minute. The animation pacing. Everything that you see when things are swapping or when things are moving is paced to the ticking of your clock, 120 or 60 beats per minute, right? So it was a very easy to pull that pacing out of it. Also, the idea of it being based on the time that's on your watch, that sort of inspired the idea of having the system where if you play the game every day for 10 minutes, you complete the game every day for a week, then you'll get into a special bonus mode. So that all comes from this idea of 120 beats per minute time, right? So now what you might be thinking is, well, this stuff is it's a bit of a far stretch to pull some of this out of that piece of music. Well, what we're getting at here is that music is not, it's not a simple recipe for an interesting game. You do need to put in the work. What music is doing here is it's helping to inspire you with maybe some interesting solutions to game design problems. So where you come to a decision point, this idea is fun, this idea is fun too, which one are we going to choose? Well, let's go back to the music and see which one fits. So that's one possible solution. The other is, okay, here's a solution to a certain game design problem, but we see it all the time. This is really common. Everybody does this. Well, maybe if you go back to the music, maybe the music can help inspire you with something a little bit unusual, something a little bit that's not so common. And that was the case, I guess, with some of the ideas that we come up with. So the last thing I want to say is for yourselves in your own game development processes and all for the people that you work with, don't be afraid to let the music inspire you. Bear and I both, we come from the 16-bit generation, so we love those classic, anthemic, game soundtracks. And I'm going to come out and say this, we're really pissed off that in the current day and age, there was a talk yesterday about fighting the mute switch, right? In the current day and age, it's just taking such a back seat. And it's such a waste, It's like having a car with no paint job. Think of the role that music has played in gaming history. Finally now, we're starting to see small, I think, what's the name of the great composer who won the Grammy nomination for the soundtrack to Journey? Yeah. Finally, we're starting to see whoa, music, wow, that was there. All the time, it was there. We're sort of trying to push ahead, and we're only just two people, and we're small time, but we're hoping that we can help other developers at our scale and our level. Don't outsource the music right at the end. Bring a musician at the beginning. Talk about your game idea, let your musician go away, come back with a piece of music, make a list of what you think of this piece of music, how it makes you feel, and then use that list. It's not that difficult. And you never know, you might find some interesting ideas in there. Okay, you might find some, oh, I didn't think of that. That's an interesting idea. We could try that. Just try it. And the musicians will be happy. You'll be happy, because what we're doing here is we're creating a general sort of emotional consistency, right? That's all this is doing, like visual concept art does in a traditional game development process. It's just channeling everyone like a compass towards the same emotional goal. And I think, as we all know, our players are becoming much more artistically savvy these days, and a game can no longer be like a kid's toy shelf. Everything on the toy shelf is a whole lot of fun, but there's a mess of shapes and colours and you know, functions and things like that. Now I think the players are starting to, there's more attention given to games. There's a bigger market for games that have an easy to understand emotional consistency, and music is a very easy way to get that. So that's all I want to say. So I'll just hand it to Bear here.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex. Anyway, so that pretty much wraps up our talk. Whether you agree with us or you kind of think we're full of crap, definitely get in touch with us with your opinions. This is something that we actually take pretty seriously, and it's just the music-driven game design is something that we really want to be a part of. So if you yourself are trying to use music as kind of a concept art for your game, definitely get in touch with us and we can kind of share our experiences. That'd be great. Anyway, thank you very much.
We have about enough time for like 1 or 2 questions.
Yep.
So if anybody has any questions.
Yeah.
I'll be loud enough.
Oh.
All right, fair enough. I could still probably be loud enough, if that's all right. I'd be interested in knowing to what extent maybe the music played a role in, like when we do the game design, there's a lot of iterating. Did you find that the music was pretty much locked, or you iterated on the music as well to coincide with design mechanics you found fun, or otherwise? Or just maybe talk about how the interplay between the gameplay and iterating to find the fun worked with the music.
Sure. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, we lock it down. The simple answer. We don't touch it. I may do tweaks to the mix, or the actual mastering process of the music may happen later on, but basically I don't like to change the music. Because we like something to listen to when we're doing all the graphics and the coding. But also, yeah, this is our experiment. We just lock it down, and that's the spine. We don't touch that now. Unless if we're finding that, it's just not working, then like any game design element, you don't need to kind of force the square peg into the round hole. You don't need to do that, of course, but if the music seems to be working with everything else, then we don't touch it.
Okay, I'd like to thank you guys for a job well done.
Thank you. Thanks.